Your first plan is to at least get a two-bedroom house, because along the line you expect that you have a baby. You can't have you, your wife, your child in the same room. Indeed, some even insist that right from day one you have to get a two-bedroom house, because I mean some level of independence is required even between the two couple. And if you have a wife with plenty clothes and shoes, you clearly would demand that you have a bigger space for it. Now, let me put this in proper perspective. If you start a job right away, if you start their job right away, it will be difficult. And this is what Moisha said that people ignored and I thought was important. If you have left school and you are going to start working, there is no way, with no amount of money in your hands, you're going to get a decent two-bedroom house in any proper locality in this country. So your first option is to get a loan. If you don't take care, you take a 2-year loan, 1,000 CD, 24,000 for the rest of your life. So you take 2 years. You use 2 years to pay for that amount of money. By the time you are done paying, there's another 2 years that you have to deal with. Your salary will not be used, and let's be clear on that, in getting anything better, because the interest on the loan you took was way too high. So your salary will be used in paying back the entire loan. By the time you are getting to the end of the year, you have to take another loan to go and actually, with a higher interest in this particular case, to go and rent a different place to live. And that is for somebody who's left university, somebody who probably supposed to get a better job and be paid well. Now, I've heard on this network before that if you want to start a small unit, a two-bedroom on your own, and make sense with it, at least you should be paid 4,000 CD. That is out of the reach of close to 80%. And I'm not taking it out, so I'm saying that our labor force survey that I was making reference to says that almost 70% of the people who are employed in this country give low salary as perhaps the main reason why they would want to change jobs. And we have 69% of that population still being underemployed. Of course, underemployed means that you're either overworked and underpaid, or you are really not getting the kind of job that your qualifications actually meet in this case. So you have little money, you have very high expectations, and your best is to go for a loan to be able to fill in. That's if your working period even warrants that you get a loan, and somebody's supposed to support you, and you get what is required to get a loan in the first place. Then you do 2 year for the next 10 years or so. If Jesus Christ did not intervene in your life with some miraculous event, you would spend your entire working life taking loans to rent new places to live. And as the family gets bigger, you are in more trouble. Because school fees becomes a problem. Places. Yes, you have to rent a bigger place. School fees and other things become a problem on you too. So the housing conversation is huge because we have failed to fix one thing. We are allowing population to increase. We've not planned for the future of the people. And please, I reject the claim that there are no houses available. You see, if you move from here to East Legon, you see so many houses that are for sale. Wonderful houses that any young man would feel good living in. But the problem is that it is impossible, close to impossible for you to afford those houses. So there's a vacuum. Now, Professor Nesaite told me something. I respect his economic brain. He said, they were pushing for increase in the number of banks because they thought increase necessarily meant competition, which would drive down prices and interest rates and other things. They realized that when they were increasing the number of banks, there was still no major change. So let's push for more to come on board, especially when the Nigerians come in, we will get a better competitive environment. They realized that even with that, there was no major change. It is very possible, and that's addressing Atache's claim more importantly. It makes economic sense on the face value. But our circumstances sometimes present peculiar economic challenges that the original economic sense of demand and supply may not make sense under this circumstance. So we may still have houses, and I'm saying that they are houses, rich, go and see, big, nice houses. They are around Trasaco. I passed there, built a plenty of them. They are built wonderful houses. It clearly is within the range of a grouping that is not the majority of the people in this country.
But so, Raymond,
our attempt to fix the problem was what? Affordable housing.
But is the affordable housing affordable?
Yes, the Deputy Minister of Housing told me a couple of days ago that the affordable housing was going for 150,000. No, 250,000. Then they begged them. The part has been completed. There's some small units that have been completed. They were going for 250,000, and they begged them to reduce it to 180,000 to be paid in 3 months. How many Ghanaians, you and I, can raise
60,000 cedis a month?
in 3 months to get what is supposed to be affordable. The layman's definition of affordable is when you have to spend less than 30% of your salary on the housing. You would clearly have to have more than the 4,000 they say can do you mortgage. You have to have like 4 times that amount of money to be able to get this 160,000 to be able to afford what we consider affordable housing in this country. And this is government very wonderful initiative that Senate has taken over. Now, she tells me that Kumasi not completed, Tamale not completed, and that Kumasi Asante Mampo. I'm sure Tamale not completed, Kofoidi has not been completed too. So the only housing unit we have completed along the line is the one at Saglemi. And that one's a small section, not even under the affordable housing unit system. This year, government has 2 major plans. They say that very soon they will launch a 150,000 project, affordable housing. The conception, pretty clear. They want the current one reduced from the 160,000 to something that we can pay. I think that will make a lot of sense. If it is brought to 30,000, I'm sure it will make sense to many of us. Then we can raise money to do that. They also have another project that's going to happen. You and I have, how do you call it, pension. The pension may be useless. They may use it for OBS. Yeah, some useless software structure which will be squandered by one person and there will be no any good to me or any family member. So now it's going to be like mortgage paid for with your pension money. You get the logic in this case. And it will be like security and equity from the pension. That's how it's going to happen.
Okay.
I am waiting to see how that's going to happen. But in the meantime, we are missing every single year the 170,000 or 200,000 we need to build to make up for the backlog, the deficit, not even looking into the future.
Okay, so what Raymond has done in the past 2 minutes, well, it may be a little more, is to start with the question. Mm-hmm. He answered the question by saying no, the answer is not in building more houses. I thought you were going to go into making a case of why the answer should be enforcing the law. Then you asked yourself a question, but is government building more houses? Then your answer was no. Government is not building affordable houses at a fast enough rate. So you took us across the country to help us understand exactly, first of all, that the houses that are being built under the guise of affordable houses are not affordable. And then even these projects are not being completed in the first place. Mm-hmm. And then you introduce the new policy, which I just heard being spoken of by Mr. Atachan just about last year, that a percentage of our pension would not be. So, Raymond, in answering this, are you saying that your answer is enforcement of law?
My answer is that we need a compendium of all of these policies if you have to clear backlog first. Then maybe when we go into the future, we can fix the other problems.
Okay, so you believe that we must look at beginning to clear the backlog, the housing backlog. At the moment, it's about 1.8 million.
Yes.
We need about 1.8 million units.
That's a very
modest estimation.
Yes. not Pentecostal estimation.
What makes you think Pentecostal will be flamboyant? Anyway, so I'm going to move to Malik with. And you see, when Raymond was speaking, he touched on something that was at the heart of Samuel Amegaibo's submission. That yes, we always say that it makes economic sense. Basic economics, demand and supply. If there are more houses, the price may go down. The demand will go down, and so the price will go down. But then again, we can just say we need more houses. That's one thing, and we can actually bring in policy to push this housing drive. Okay. I want you to chew on that for a moment because you really came to meet Enuma in the studio and she's been sitting here waiting to talk. So, Enuma, your thoughts?
Oh gosh, I sometimes
if you don't have any thoughts, just say you don't have any.
Oh, Charlie, but why are you doing this to it? Enuma, don't mind him, okay? Don't mind him.
He always has thoughts.
As I was saying before, I was very rudely interrupted by Malik. I find this conversation very interesting because I didn't start life here. So my experience with housing was a little bit different. And listening to Raymond, I found a lot of things interesting. You know, I started life in a single room in a house. So I rented a room in a house, a single room with a single bed. And then I moved to a double bed room in a house, so sharing with a lot of people. And then I moved to a studio flat, and then I moved to a 1-bedroom flat. So for me, it was very progressive. I guess I'm grateful that I had the opportunity, or that kind of thing was affordable for me. Because when I compare living in a room in a house outside of Ghana and what it would have been like living in a room in a house here in Ghana, in a compound house, I can imagine that it must be very different. So it's also really about what is available. So now we're talking about either building more houses or enforcing the law. I think it's about finding balance, building more houses, but where? Because like Raymond says, there are buildings and cantonments in East Legon which are empty. So with the theory of building more houses may work. Then there's also the affordable housing. How affordable is affordable? A friend of mine sent me some pictures. They're building affordable housing and it's starting from 1 bedroom for $40,000 in central Accra. To some people, that might be affordable. To me, it's not. I have school fees, I have kids, I have myself. How much do I earn? As much as I'd like to own my own place, can I really afford it? And then if I'm going to think about how much money I'll be able to afford, it means I'm looking at places outside of Accra, heading towards Pram Pram. Maybe those are the areas that I can afford. But then when I compare that to the amount of money I'll spend on commuting, is it worth it? So it's such a multifaceted conversation. And for me, it's difficult to say which way we should go. And I think we need to start with our financial sector. We need to start with our interest rates, so that getting loans is not as expensive, so that building is not as expensive, so that we're not importing things from other countries. We're producing our own stuff so that everything is just generally cheaper. Outside of that, I think we can have a really intellectual conversation, but how much of it will be real? How much of it will be relatable? I just rented a place. I paid for 2 years. It was painful. I've been broke. My fridge is spoiled. I have not bought a new one because I had to pay for 2 years. It was... The good side of that is that I have the security of knowing that I don't have to cough out that much money for the next 2 years. But has it affected my disposable income? Yes, it has. Has it made life a little bit more difficult? Yes. But then what do I do? Because when I went to my landlady, this was it. Listen, it's either you pay me 2 years or you walk away. And I really wanted this place because it's close to work. It brings my commute down. So I save on other things, but she had all the power in dealing with me. She could walk away from my lump sum of over 20,000 cedis because she knew that if I go, the next person would come. And that's the thing also, the demand for housing in Accra, in central Accra, is very high. So if you can find something in Kokomlemle or Osu for about 800 to 1,000 cedis a month, then you're like, okay, this is a good deal, then I'm not going to walk away from it. So the truth is that at the moment, the landlords have all the power.
You're making such a point for me because I also just got out of a house hunt that technically took me about 6 to 7 months, but effectively took me about a month. And I'm going to ask you this one. At that point where she said, look, you either pay me this amount or you walk, did you feel that I have to stick with this because there are no options, or you felt like, okay, I'm going to pay for this because it's giving me value?
I'm going to pay for this because I could still keep searching and I would come to the same point where the power is taken out of my hands and it will be at the discretion of the landlord.
So for you, the simple solution will be if there were options.
Perhaps if there were options, if I didn't have to pay the 2 years, then maybe I would feel more confident about searching. But the truth is, and I know that for you, you had to do, your landlord gave you the option of a year, and
yes,
then you chose to do 2 years. But and I dealt with a lot of estate agents, and for them, as soon as I come to them and I say, I'm looking for a place for a year, they are like, no, we don't do, madam, we don't know they do the 1 year no more. We don't do. So it's almost like a caveat from the beginning that you have to be ready to do this. And I guess it works better for them. And that's the thing also, is the chain in the rental industry, you know, is if we could bridge that, because, and I assume you did it, I did it too. We have to pay, after you pay your rent, you have to pay 10% to the estate
which
agent,
normally should be deducted from the rent that you
but
pay.
It's not. So you're paying that.
And
so
sometimes,
you're paying...
what happened with me anymore was that when I went to look for the building, the agent who is supposed to represent my interest quotes a higher price, and then I go and speak to the landlord, and then the landlord tells me a lower price.
The same thing happened with with me.
Yeah, but the agent is supposed to represent my interest. It's like, okay, he wants to get as much on the amount as possible so that he can get a fatter 10% commission.
Yes, but the thing is, these places that we can afford, they are not advertising in ways that we see. I mean, you see.
But in the first place, are there places we can afford? This $40,000 you spoke of was 200,000 Ghana cedis. Yeah. That is for a 1-bedroom. No matter where that is, even if that 1-bedroom apartment is sitting on top of this studio, and I have to just come downstairs to work anymore, it's a 1-bedroom apartment. But
to be fair, some of these are offering mortgages. So there's also that option. Really.
No, the point is that what value are you presenting?
Exactly, and then the interest. That's why I started the conversation from interest rates.
No.
Because regardless of even mortgages available, the interest rates are high. So, I mean,
yeah. It's just that anyway. It's just that your submission really got me to thinking of what value are you getting with the money that you pay? Because yes, you can say that this is affordable, this is 20,000, this is 30,000, this is 40,000. But what is the value that you are getting? Okay, let me just summarize what Enimwa said, and then I'll go on the phone lines. We have a special guest joining us on the phone lines. Enimwa has taken us through what I believe is the heart of the problem, really. What makes housing expensive as a venture, as a business venture? So that thing, you talk about interest rates. There's also cost of land. There's also cost of building material. We've had stakeholders around this table tell us in a number of different ways. And she has suggested that government can, as a matter of fact, take out some of these things that would make it like work on an interest rate. I think we need to work on our land tenure so that building can be generally less expensive, and then in turn builders or landowners or landlords do not need to charge so much for rents to recoup, of course, their investments. But in the heart of her argument, she speaks of the fact that enforcement of the law may be the solution, but then we need to find that balance between building more and enforcing the law. So, like I said, I have a special guest on the phone lines, Eva Ando Opoku. Eva Ando Opoku is the MD of NTHC Properties, and she wants to make a comment. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thanks for joining us. Listeners. Great. So thanks for joining us. In the first place, you have a comment on this, so can we hear that comment?
Okay. I totally concur with what the Deputy Minister for Housing mentioned. This is on the premise that so long as demand outstrips supply, there's still going to be that growing problem. Enforcement, in my view, wouldn't really solve the problem. So if we are in a position to actually build more properties, build more houses, then of course it would be a tenant's market, because at the moment it's a landlord's market. There's a limited housing stock, and hence landlords are able or in a position to actually determine even the rentals and also the number of years for the deposit. But in the case where we have the housing market, increasing, as in the stock increasing, it becomes a tenant's market because the tenants are spoiled for choice. They have variety. They can determine even the rentals, at any given time. So that's my view on it. And it might not be the absolute solution to this growing housing problem, but it is a step in the right direction, if you should ask me.
Okay. So you believe that getting more houses, like you just said, the simple economics of it adds up, that if there are more houses, it is possible that it will favor the tenants more.
That's my viewpoint. From,
yes.
A professional viewpoint, I would say so.
I'm glad you're speaking from a professional viewpoint, because I want to ask you a question as a professional. Samia Megaibo has a lot of challenges with statements like this coming from government officials, and this was the minister speaking. That we hear this all the time, but there's no convincing, clear policy that shows us that we want to get there practically. Do you agree with that sentiment? Do you think that you have seen enough to suggest we want to get there in this number of years?
I believe there's more to be done. I believe government should be in a position to help the professionals, and all the developers to be able to bring to bear, as it were, a number of properties on the housing market. So, to a large extent, I would actually side with him.
Okay. What would you want to see?
Right. I'd want to see more collaboration from the government, with professionals and developers alike, to ensure that, the prices are right, as in housing prices are right, and also the locations as well. Because I was just speaking to another professional earlier on this morning, and what he also mentioned was, yes, if the location is right, yes, people would also take up these properties. But if the location is not right, then, we have a problem, because you can have all the properties in one location, but people are not, ready to reside in that location. So, there is lots to be said and done in this sector, housing sector, if I should say.
Right, Eva Ando Poku, thank you so much for your intervention. I'm going to leave a final word now, if you have any to add before you go.
Right. What I would say is, it looks like people are a little bit agitated, the developers especially, because of they want to help the system. But I think we should all be very calm. We should sit round the table, have a round table discussion and just come up with the solution to these ones. Because if we are, up against each other, saying that you should help me, I should help you, I don't think we are going to go anywhere. But if we all come round the table and just put our facts and figures down and, step by step have a clear direction, then of course we are going to go somewhere. We should have a short, medium and long-term, resolution to this growing housing problem.
Thank you very much, Eva Ando Poku. She is the MD for NTHC Properties. It's 30 minutes past 8 on the Super Morning Show. Enjoy 99.7 FM. We are having a discussion on housing, particularly rent. Let's go on the phone lines now and speak with the Minister for Works and Housing, Samuel Atachia. Good morning, Mr. Atachia. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, sir.
In the first place, this discussion started from a statement you made. So really, we would like to give you the opportunity to restate it and shed more light on it. The issue of your belief that more housing units would translate into lower rent charges in terms of rent advance.
Yes. The restatement of the position is that it's all supply and demand forces. You know what a glut is. When you have so much supply and then it's more than demand, then you realize that prices will go down. Those forces are also at play in this whole scheme of things, rent advance and the need for people to rest somewhere. So that is very important. That's the reality sense of it. People bluff and tell you that pay me 5 years rent advance because they know you can't go anywhere and find another one which is cheaper. That's the point of the matter. But if they are acutely aware that there are several houses, I mean, maybe you talk about Jowulu, high-rise houses, for what if? And somebody is also having his private house close by, Asalam down or somewhere, and saying that, come and pay me 5 years rent. You realize that people move to where, I mean, the houses are, and it's readily available, and then they will have places to rest with reduced rental charges. That's how it goes. So there's an acute shortage of houses. That is how come that people believe that they should cash in on the situation to demand exorbitant rent advances. The question is, would you want to report somebody to the police? Is a question which comes up all over again. They wouldn't want to do that. The police will always start with the complainant. You are the one who is saying that you want a house. I've quoted several thousands of Ghana cedis as a rent advance for a period of 5 years, violated the Rent Act, which announces that you should not go beyond 6 months. So there will be no complainant. They wouldn't want to go. But if you send the landlord to the police station, probably they are thinking is that they don't have a place to rest. They bargain and nevertheless they are charged so much and they get in there. So probably the enforcement is weak because of also I mean, the reality on the ground, that you wouldn't want to mess up somebody who's trying to, find a place to sleep, although it's hurting you. So this is what is what I'm seeing from the perspective of the ministry, that when we make houses available, it will dilute the tendency of people exacting so much from tenants, because the houses are there. So when you cost so high and there's availability so low somewhere, the market forces will go where it's low, and then you can have your house in Jowulu and you want someone to come and live in it, but your rent advance is so high, it will be empty. It will cost you. It will push private property owners to also lower their rentals, so that those who want to come and rent them will afford them.
But Mr. Atachiah, won't that be... Will we be attacking the problem from the root if we say that we want to push private developers to charge lower? Because I have a comment here from Professor Peter Korte. I want to just read that to you. He says, Daniel, I think your discussion should also focus on the cost of constructing a rental unit. Do you know how many years it will take to recoup 20% of your construction costs, not to speak of maintenance? The impression you are presenting is as if landlords are ripping off tenants. If it was easy, governments would have provided more housing units like council flats in the UK. This will increase the housing stock and help drive down prices a bit. I believe his comments is looking at why housing is so expensive to begin with. There are factors in there. So shouldn't we start by looking at those factors?
It is true. The kind of buildings we put up are the old, antiquated technologies. Hard, cement, and the rest of it. Now, people are doing prefabricated structures. And if you care to know, they erect a factory in a very good place, and then the factory will produce a raw material for mass housing. And we have cataloged several developers of that nature who are coming to help us. And then it will not be all cement and all the rest of it that we know. Now, there's a problem of even the land. And the infrastructure, the requisite infrastructure you need to do mass housing. For instance, what is happening in Segleme has a component of the kind of infrastructure you will send to a place for people to go and live it there. So all the factors are making the cost of erecting a house very expensive. So we want to reduce that. But let me ask you a question. If you succeed in even getting container houses, some countries did that. Excuse me to say, you are sleeping on the veranda exposed to the vagaries of the weather. Would you want to go and have a container house where you live, but you can flush your toilets and are comfortable, you have your television set in there, and even it's $5,000. Convert that into cities. How are the people with the levels of income we know in Ghana just dole out $5,000 or city equivalent to get into a container house? I'm talking about the lowest form of housing that we want to talk about. It's a question of mortgage. And this is what we are tackling with all seriousness. Creating a credible mortgage regime in Ghana is the business of President Akufo-Addo. And I'm being pushed to bring it about, working with Ken Ofori-Atta. And when we do that, we'll be able to solve the long-term problems that are affecting the housing delivery. We need to deliver more houses. But when you deliver more houses, you should have off-takers, people who come and live in the houses. The people cannot come and live in the house because they cannot afford to pay upfront. And it's very important. We address that. But if you want me to talk about what the last thing you spoke about, it is true that you will not also drive out real estate developers by saying that they shouldn't recoup on their investment.
Because it's a reality, yeah.
To what quantum? You see, the real estate developer spends so much money to erect the house. He wants to get some money back. Hence this so-called concept of rent advance. But to what extent do you want to recoup your investment? It should not be in the long run. And the question is, do we have to give them 6 months rent advance, as the law is saying? The real estate developers are saying that this is not realistic. So are we going to push it 1 year? This is the subject matter before the subcommittee of
Yes, and you made that known on other platforms. But you see, sometimes when you deal with the real estate developers as business people, that is even in a different perspective. I mean, in Ghana, it is cultural to look at houses as an investment. So everyone would say, build a house, build a boys' quarters in your yard, rent out the boys' quarters, it becomes a source of income. So as a private individual who does not have maybe 500 housing units that he can say he can charge 1 month or 6 months rent from each one of them, and then his overheads will be fine. This is an individual who needs money because he has made an investment that he expects returns on. Okay, and so really, the question I'm asking is that for that average individual who wants to invest in a house, how can we make and what are we doing to make building less expensive so that at the root of the problem, the building there, you will not be losing much if you charge less for rent?
You see, it's also the appetite of the average Ghanaian. What do you mean by making building expensive? The average Ghanaian believes that, if I'm putting up a house, it's a symbol of my power and wealth. So if they have this huge appetite, is Legon mentality, the houses, even if you use the cheapest of raw material, will still be expensive. They want to have a high, 3-story, the frontage is so palatial, they want their floors marble. You know how some of these things are happening. So that is a factor I want to look at. But if you want to use cheap, raw material, then we go modern technology. Steel, blending steel with some foam material, something that we are about to bring here. They're going to do the prototypes in Accra for people to see. And just will give you the coolness of the environment. You don't need an air condition. And you see that things are happening in Budapest. So we need to just change our culture also. And then the prices of constructing a house will be cheaper. If we go the trend which is in the world now, it's not all the hard cement, and it helps. But to say that, you want to culture the average Ghanaian to build cheaper houses of their personal use, and if they have 3 of them, they want to rent it out, it's something which is very difficult. It's a contract they will need to break. Because do we want houses that are serious? That is the thinking of most Ghanaians. Recently, we were telling some workers that, can you come to this, Roman Rick and live there. Do you know what they wanted to see? They wanted to see a boys' quarters. The government, with respect, giving you, the worker, a place to rest. Some of them didn't want to go there because they said, without a boys' quarters, how can I live here? But we also know that very prominent people in the UK, the council flats I spoke about, they live in council flats. So what are you going to talk about?
Right.
Boys' quarters. So these are some of the challenges
that
we need to work at.
Mr. Atacha, the preference of the buyer is legitimate to state. And I remember even when we hosted the head of GHL Bank here, he said that every Ghanaian wants to build a big house. But then again, how affordable is affordable? Are you then suggesting that if we were to maybe be more modest in our preferences, our houses would be cheaper? Because again, I point you to some state-owned, state-funded affordable housing projects which cost 180,000, 250,000 cedis. That is still not affordable in the real sense.
Precisely. I agree. You see, affordability, if you want to go by international standards, is when somebody can ring fence 30% of his income to service a mortgage loan. That's what an affordability is. And therefore, this is what we want to bring about. And therefore, we want to roll out houses, and then we make sure that we also provide off-takers a credible mortgage regime. Credible because by instrumental payments, 20 years down the line, the person can own the house. This is the paradigm shift this nation should have. If not, we are just talking. Our income levels are low. Nobody, maybe where you are working, I don't know your payment structures, your income structures. But I could tell you that if you have to take 50% of what you earn every month to service a mortgage loan, it's not affordable. So apart from the houses you want to go in, affordability is tied to income and payment of mortgages.
That's true.
Over a period of time. So a decent person like you will say that, look, I cannot buy a house just at a go, but I have been working, I have an insurance cover, and consistently for 15 to 20 years, here is my home. That is also a sense of affordability. You have a few people in Ghana who can just say that, get into my account, and I have an amount of 520,000 Ghana cedis. Here is a 3-bedroom. I'm going to get it. A few people can do it. So we need to create a mortgage regime, and it's a money matter, what they call capital intensive, where even money from the pension fund and the rest of them, will be leveraged on, and is subsidized in the sense that the money already belongs to the people of Ghana, and we can peg even interest rate so low, so the ordinary worker can afford it.
Should we then?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Atacha, and sorry to do this way, but should we then look at government's vision or government's outline to take the whole business of building in the first place out of the hands of the average Ghanaian, so that we can look at mortgage schemes? Is that what we should get with the drift of what you're saying?
Yes, we should have the government influencing the mortgage regime.
Okay.
Tremendously. You see, therefore, if the government wants people to have houses because of our sense of ownership, we want to own houses, then the mortgage regime, which empowers an average person with with not too fat a purse to own it over a period of time, should be encouraged, and it should be consistent and realistic. And this is what we want to bring about.
Okay. So the answer to the question of what are we doing to make construction more cheap would be that we are taking it out of the hands of the average Ghanaian in the first place.
Yes.
What about businesses, Mr. Atacha? What about businesses? Businesses who want to play in that space, real estate developers, they also need the housing industry to be cheaper, so that when they deliver units, I'm sure that if you were going to do mortgage, for instance, you may need to involve the private sector. When they deliver units, they would also need for their cost of business to go down.
Yes, I respect that so much. They have their own tastes and preferences. But we are addressing mass poverty. The individuals you're talking about, who are the developers, you understand? They have their profit motive. You can't take it away from them. But I'm saying that a government should intervene in a situation that the poverty of sleeping in bad places will be wiped out over time. And that is our sole interest. But when you do that, you find some of these private people coming to service the needs of the mass of the people. They will move from their world-class buildings they want to build and come and do some of the affordable housing for the mass of the people, because then wealth is shifting from trying to go Trasaco and some of the palatial, buildings you see around, to servicing the crowd. The real estate developers will buy into the new arrangement and make money too. That is what it is.
Okay.
So those who can afford their big things, let them go for it. They can also come and help in wiping out the deficit and rolling affordable housing for those who want to live in places of modesty because of their station of life.
Mr. Atacha, for the sake of time, let's end it here. Thank you very much for joining us in this morning's discussion.
Pleasure as always, yeah.
All right. Samuel Atacha is Minister for Works and Housing. He brings us to exactly 8:30. To be honest, there is so much more to talk to him about, but we'll take these important messages. When we come back, we'll give you the chance to have a bite at the issue. The phone lines are 0302 216 541 or 0244 340 437. Malik has also not had a bite at this. He will when we finish these messages. Stay with us. This is the Super Morning Show.
I wake up in the morning, it's a new day, and I got bills that I have to pay. Now you're running late, running out of time. Feels like the world is waiting in line.
Yeah, what's up? We are say Ube phone. Now I dial *737#. Entinia we bia. Enipa we bia no. E kwan o ha bia nim wo homo bia. abrabo enye din ni achiri kra e won sa no ene yi aso magic ni hwe ni nyina hya ase wo star 737 hash GT Bank star 737 hash so die utumi bia account foforo wo phone so eto airtime etuaka DSTV ni subscriptions check your account balance link your MTN mobile money account ni GT Bank account na transfer sika ma busuafo ni namfofo eye kokokra.
I don't need to write or cash a check. I don't need data or internet. I have something that's faster than a jet. Just like
what they're talking about. You could be a palm wine shopper, a teacher, a rapper, a schoolboy, or a school girl, or a trader, a bank MD, a chairman, or a baker.
Guaranteed Trust Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us?
Don't come me. Hey, 10 pesos. 10 pesos. Vodafone is 10 years old and is giving you an anniversary gift of 10 times bonus and 10 pesos call rate across networks. Browse for 10 pesos per megabyte. Call Vodafone or any other network at the same rate of 10 pesos per minute. That's not all. Share your scratch card with 2 more people the Kikimi style, and the 3 of you will each enjoy 10 times the value of your card. Dial star 135 hash to subscribe. Terms and conditions apply.
The future is exciting. Ready?
Nationwide Medical Insurance, the leader in private health insurance, has deployed superior technology to make your healthcare experience more convenient and exciting. With the Nationwide mobile app, you can order your prescription drugs and we will deliver to your doorsteps. With over 600 dependable healthcare service providers, you're just a step away locating your service provider of choice and accessing hospital claim information in real time. Our corporate clients are guaranteed timely corporate utilization reports. We provide on-site clinics to give employees access to healthcare in the comfort of their offices. Enjoy these amazing benefits and so much more by signing on to Nationwide Medical Insurance today. Call us on toll-free number 0800-222222 or visit our website www.nationwidemh.com. Nationwide Medical Insurance. Join the healthcare family.
move on up.
Moving on up is paying from your phone and getting looks of approval from your friends. Moving on up is doing all your banking from your bathroom like a boss. Moving on up is losing your wallet, but your money is still safe. Moving on up is attaching any bank's card to the EcoBank mobile app. Oh yeah, download the EcoBank mobile app. Make we go and bank like a boss.
Move on up with EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
Oh, hello, Amma. Long time.
Oh, I've been standing here knocking, sir. Where were you?
Oh, I'm very sorry. I actually saw you in my cameras when you were walking in, but I was on a long-distance video call with a big cousin in the UK.
How are you able to do that?
Haven't you heard of the broadband service from Telesol? They offer fast speed with vast internet bundles to choose from and very affordable monthly rates.
Wow, is that so?
Yes, so they offer both 4G and fiber broadband.
Go on, tell me more.
And Telesol is fully Ghanaian.
I'm rushing right away to contact them. Any more details?
Yes, you can contact Telesol today for further details on 0303 975 342 or 344 or toll free on 0800 900,000 or visit www.telesol4g.com. Telesol 4G, just a touch.
It's a new day.
I want you to first think big, not small. Think of how great we can be when we work together. Together, we can ensure that our hard work will provide a better future. Together, we can provide a foundation for you and your business to succeed, regardless of its size. Together, we can create opportunities for all. Bank with us today and let's journey forward together.
Forward together.
Cowbank, forward together.
Blow the candles, sound the trumpets, and scream! Media is 50! Media, your #1 air conditioner and appliance manufacturer, is 50 years old. 50 years of top-notch quality, and we're celebrating it big. Starting from 15% discounts on appliances from any Media showroom or authorized reseller. Join the celebration of Media at 50. We have amazing home appliances at great discounts. Tabletop fridges starting at 499 Ghana cedis. 4-burner gas cookers starting at 799 Ghana cedis. Chest freezers are also starting at 799 Ghana cedis. Blow the candles, sound the trumpet, and scream! And so many appliances for you to choose from. One so Bejo dear. Remember, it's a celebration. It's Media at 50 big sales on appliances. Visit a Media showroom or authorized reseller now or call us on 0503 400 600. It's the Media at 50 promotion. Terms and conditions apply.
The other day, as I was in my kitchen preparing my special jollof made with lily rice for my family, I heard a knock at the door. It was my mechanic. Instead of calling me to pick my car, he brought it himself. I said, "Cho," he said, "F-O." I said, "Take the car back. I will come and pick it myself." As I turned off the fire from under the lily jollof, there was another knock at the door. It was my neighbor. I said, neighbor. He said, "F-O, my dog has jammed your wall again, oh." I said, "Don't be silly. You don't have a dog." My wife and kids came home, and we saw that he enjoyed. So, it was my pastor. He said, "Bless you." I said, "Bless you too." He said, "Did he come to church on Saturday?" I said, "Acho, but why are you coming to tell me this on Wednesday?"
Having to fend off visitors at mealtimes because of Lele's tasty aromatic rice? Celebrate every mealtime by sharing with friends and family near or far. Lele. Tasty food, happy family.
Acho.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Food and Drugs Authority.
It's time to own a hotel-inspired apartment near Accra Mall and switch on your urban life with a cool price starting from 315,000 Ghana cedis. Yes, you heard me. Choose our market-leading studio, 1, 2, or 3-bedroom apartment from Oasis Park Condominium at Tetekwashi and enjoy urban resort life. For this and more, call Evelyn on 0204 343 011 or Kojo on 0204 343 008. This is another catered development by CPL Developers. CPL Developers, built for life.
Sugar Morning Show.
Joy 99.7 FM.
22 minutes to the top of the hour here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. Don't forget, coming up later on the show is Corruption Watch, where we are talking about a robbery that has occurred at the Attorney General's Department. Why is it important? So yes, we know that the Attorney General's Department is where all the cases that have to do with all the prosecutions that the state is engaging in can be found. Now, when the person went to steal 5 computers. That means that the person has stolen the programs and documents on those computers that may be able to help those lawyers with the cases that they are dealing with. So it's a very, very serious matter. You can imagine if it was documents having to do with Alfred Woyomi's case, court case. You can imagine if it was the documents that have to do with, the court case of any of the corruption scandals we've been hearing of. That would be very serious. So we are going to discuss that on Corruption Watch later on the show. You want to stay with us for that? But now we are talking about housing. We've spoken to Eva Andopoko. She's the MD of NTHC Properties. And we've spoken to the Minister for Works and Housing, Samuel Atachia. Loads of your messages here. We'll be reading them, and then you can also call us on 0244 340 437 or 0302 216 541. Happy birthday to Reverend Dankwa, founder of Morgan International Community School and General Overseer of Enriching Lives Ministries. From Mrs. Dankwa, David, Margaret, Natalie, and Oliver. We love you, Daddy. Happy birthday, Reverend Dankwa. Before the calls come in, Roverman Productions, in partnership with Joy FM and the National Theatre, presents for the first time a one-man show by Uncle Ibo White himself, titled A Crazy Ride. Uncle Ibo White's show comes off on the 1st, the 2nd, the 8th and 9th of September 2018 at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. each day. The rate is 80 Ghana cedis. The venue is the National Theatre. You can call 0505 546 010 or WhatsApp 0505 546 030. Get tickets now. Tickets are also available here at Joy FM. The ICGC Holy Ghost Temple invites the general public to its spiritual emphasis program beginning Tuesday 28th August to Friday 31st August 2018. That means it started yesterday. It's a month of new beginnings. Come and receive spirit-led ministrations from Reverend Eastwood Anaba, President of Eastwood Anaba Ministries, and host pastor Prophet Chris Yao Ano. ICGC Holy Ghost Temple. The time is 6:30 p.m. each night. Venue is Holy Ghost Temple located at South Frafraha on the Dodowa Road. Connect to DSTV from wherever you are on up to 4 mobile devices with the DSTV Now app and the Vodafone Showtime bundle from only 1 Ghana cedi for the daily unlimited bundle. All you need to be is an active DSTV subscriber. Download the DSTV Now app and dial *900# to access the Vodafone Showtime bundles. Call 0302 740 540 for more information. Vodafone, the future is exciting. You ready? DSTV. Feel every moment. You can call now on 0302 546 0302 216 541 or 0244 340 437. Maudeka is already on the phone line from Tesano. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everything?
Very good by the grace of God. I started listening to your conversation in the middle of it, so I couldn't follow the full trend of it. So I wanted to find out that if the minister I heard from another platform, or I read it from one of the sites, that he made mention of the fact that to help solve the situation, henceforth they were going to enforce the law that the landlord should not take more than 1 year. At least the maximum should be 6 months, from 1 month to 6 months, or so to say 1 year. If they should hear anybody charging more than so, they should report them to the authorities, and the landlord will be arrested and all that. Looking at the plight, somebody had just finished National Service School and then was living with boys. Boys want to separate. Where is he or he going to raise the money of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 from? But what certain policies, companies' policy says that you have to work for 1 year, 2 years before you can even guarantee you approval for facilities, loan institutions, and all that. So the question comes back again that can he state again or clear the air that he is in support of the plight of the people who are interested in affording these accommodations, but they cannot because the law rests solely now in the hands of the landlords. And secondly, the law should be should make it clear, straightforward, that when you're in somebody's room, what are the things you are supposed to take care of? Some are the things you are supposed to fix. But sometimes when you hire a room for, let's say, 2 years, and the smallest thing, the landlord will tell you that we are contributing to fix this problem. Meanwhile, you have paid a rent amount for, say, 2 years, 3 years, and then on top of that, he comes back again, charging you an extra fee that I want us to fix this problem, let's say, for painting. I'm talking from experience. I know how people are suffering in Ghana, and landlords are taking advantage of all these things. So if you can call the minister back to speak to us about this and his position and the Akufo-Addo's position of this issue, I think we'll be very much happy.
Right. Maudeka, so we started the conversation with that question, and he was mentioning that he believes that if there are more houses in the system, then it will be a tenant's market, and so landlords will not be pushed to charge that high rent advance. But he did say that there's a challenge with persons not reporting to the police when they are charged more than 6 months rent advance, as the law stipulates now. But let me take a phone call from Sam on Lakeside. Good morning, Sam.
Hi, good morning, Daniel.
Great, let's hear you.
Yeah, I think this is a very, very big topic that I think that needs a lot of conversation on, because the subject is something that the government is just playing around it. I've listened to Mr. Tachia, and when you look at the problem at hand now, yes, there's a lot of power that is in the hands of the landlords, but there are things that the government can do. When you apply the laws very strictly, you tell the landlord, as I was giving an example, that if I go and report a landlord to a policeman and I tell the policeman this is what is happening because I want to rent, and that landlord has been taken on, don't you think that it will be easy for other landlords to be able to give out their places for either monthly or 6 months, because they know that the law is working. So they will be able to go strictly according to the law.
Okay.
So how many people in Ghana who earning 5,000 cedis? Even a graduate earns as less as 600 cedis, 700 cedis. And a place is going for 600 cedis, 2-bedroom. In my area where I am, I tell you, you can never get a 2-bedroom apartment less than 1,000 cedis. Maybe.
Wow. Sam, those are some very, very true thoughts you're mentioning there. But we have to make way for Frank, who is calling from Nanakrum. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning.
Hi, Frank. How are you doing?
Right. When I tuned into the radio, I said, yeah, here we go again.
Hello, Frank. Hello. Yes, the line is very faint.
Oh, okay. So can you hear me now?
Great. Let's hear you.
Yes, I'm saying that just open the phone for 10 hours and you will hear the problems. But I would say, what is the solution? The solution is interest rates, borrowing rates are so high in this country. If real estate agents get into the bank to borrow, they are basically paying 100-fold in just about 3 years. If interest rates and borrowing rates are brought down, the marketplace will be open and landlords will be begging people to come and live in their homes. I can bet you. So the problems of people saying police and everything, the police cannot do it all because the problem oversees the police.
Okay.
Yes. So what you need to do, or what government needs to do, enable real estate developers with low interest borrowing rates and let them build affordable housing.
Right. Thank you very much, Frank, for calling from Nanakron. Francis is calling from Medina. Good morning, Francis.
Yeah, good morning, boss.
Yes, let's hear you, boss.
Yes, please. The problem is not about the cost that you are talking about. I understand the cost. Now, what we are going through is that the money that those real estate people are building, they want to charge, the landlord wants to charge. Go on, charge that money that you want to charge. But what we are saying is that instead of making it 2 years, so that somebody who's working and earning, let's say, 2,000 and paying that money for 2 years, just bring it to 6 months. You are charging the same money. So let's assume you are charging 400 for a month. That 400, when you multiply it by 2 years, you can't get that money. So you just make it 6 months. So that 400 that you want to still recoup your investment, or talking about your payback period that you want to recoup your investment, fine, you can still recoup your investment by charging the same amount. But in this case, you are just reduce the number of years so that you end up reducing the burden of the ordinary Ghanaians. That is what we are asking for, right? So when I hear the minister, what they call it, the minister talking about cost and demand and supply, so because there's a shortage, we have to go against the law and do the bad thing. Is that what he's saying? So let the landlord take the same amount of money, but come down with the years, so that those who are working, they can say afford.
Thank you very much, Francis, for calling us from Medina. And my last caller is Bismarck from Tema. Good morning, Bismarck.
Good morning, Didi. How are you?
By God's grace, I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, same thing. Didi, your topic is very good.
Bismarck, please turn off the radio and we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Is it okay for you?
Yes, now it's good.
This housing problem, I don't sure it can be solved. Look, when the former president came, President Kufuor, he said he will solve the housing problem. And now this government will do the same thing. Look at the housing problem Ghanaians are facing. You go and rent room, then they say 5 years, pay about 600. How can a poor worker afford such an amount? Look at the people working in Accra. They are staying at Eastern Region, Ebui and other places, coming down to Accra. Then they break house. They say it's affordable. Come to Tama and see this nice building they are putting on. You can't afford it. A poor worker is taking less 1,000, like somebody said, 50,000. How many people can be paid 1,000 in this country? So the estate developers and the bank rate must be calmed down so that this housing problem can be solved. Please, the government must help the Ghanaians. Please, we are tired of this rent paying so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bismarck, for calling us from Tema. And that was our last caller on the Super Morning Show. Enjoy 99.7 FM. It's 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Happy birthday to you, Susie Cristado of Civil Service HR Department from Kafui. So, Susie Cristado of Civil Service HR Department from Kafui. Happy birthday to you. So much more to talk about, so much more to cover. Like I said, today on Corruption Watch, we are looking at a robbery that has taken place in the Attorney General's department and what it means for the work that the Attorney General is doing. I want to take some 3 messages then before we move on anymore.
3. Okay. Both are needed to solve the problem. If you build more houses and don't enforce the law, they'll still charge 2 years. If you enforce the law and there are not enough houses, tenants will compete and still be willing to pay 2 years. Ghana's problem is always implementing half solutions. That's from Adolf. Tay from New Ningo says, I think the government should both enforce the law as well as funding the construction of new affordable houses. Leslie Adder from Choco Tea Garden says, I think we should enforce the law rather than urging landlords to charge advance rent. Good morning. Enforcing the law will help because the government alone can't house all. Enforce the law. There are completed flats at Tong behind the community SHS which are empty. Please can you do a search and let us know why for over 10 years there are no occupants. That's from Mamiraba. Daniel, so what's preventing the government from building 5,000 units and giving it out for rent? The problem is people are benefiting from the country by these chaotic arrangements, hence no aggressive actions from the lawmakers and the executive. That's from Michael Che Ajekum. Daniel, I lived in a single room self-contained for $350 a month, paid a water bill of 40 cedis and never saw the official bill, even though I hardly stay at home to use water. I moved out 2 months before my rent is due, and now I'm at my own place and working hard to put up apartments because I feel so much for those who have been there. That's from Makosby. This one says, this rent thing is really worrying. What put me off is the agents. They charge 50 Ghana cedis for registration and take 10% of whatever you pay, and the frustration you go through looking for an affordable place is crazy. I went through this like a month ago and I nearly died. Well, I'm glad you survived because we nearly died as well. Going on to Twitter at Original K Boache, affordable housing is not all about houses. Cheap transportation void of traffic is a solution. Most people would not care to live on the outskirts of cities. That is if transportation was cheaper and void of traffic. Fazas GH says, I think the laws should be enforced together with building more affordable houses. Apia Steven 78 says, the rent issues in this country is insurmountable since the state is not prepared to provide affordable houses for its people. The solution to this problem is to reduce the population growth. Datag Soul says, building more houses will not solve the issues of 2 years advance, but enforcement of the law will solve the problem. Imagine if there are more houses, which is good and should be encouraged, but landlords agree between themselves to insist on the advance. What will we do?
So the 3 messages turned into about 10. But there were so many to go through. Apologies if we were unable to read yours. It's 6 minutes to the top of the hour. We'll take this break, and then when we come back, Corruption Watch. We are talking about the robbery that has taken place at the Attorney General's office. What has been stolen? 5 computers. Why were they stolen? Well, I can tell you exactly how it may affect the work that they do, and that's what we'll be telling you after this. Stay with us.
Possibilities.